Hello, Movie Mavens! Welcome back to another video on the B Movies channel. My name is Bailey, and I put the B in movies. I hope you're having. Oh, I just swallowed my spit wrong. I hope you're having a great week. If not, at least the week's almost over. And I hope you do something nice for yourself this weekend. I think I am going to. I've basically walled off this entire weekend. I'm going to do some writing. I'm going to organize my office. I'm very excited. So do something nice for yourself this weekend. For those who are new here, hello, hi. We are happy to have you. I say we because if you're new here and you don't know, B Movies is run by me and one of my best friends, Elliot. I just do more of the front-facing things. Elliot edits all of our pieces and works very hard behind the scenes, and is going to be starting the B Movies book club next month. So do keep your eyes peeled on our Instagram as well as Elliot's Instagram, which is at reading.with.read. And yeah, I'm excited. I'm not sure what book she chose. I'm very excited, and I hope y'all enjoy it as well. So let's go ahead and kick things off with our blog roundup for the week. So on Monday we talked about horror cold opens. We know Scream, Fear Street, It Follows. When a horror cold open is done well, it's just chef's kiss. And so I wrote about a few of my favorites. On Tuesday, we talked about the Adult Swim infomercials. So this is actually the first piece in our 3-part series on Adult Swim. There's going to be a piece about the history of Adult Swim. And then I'm going to put the work of Alec Resnick, who, for those who don't know, did unedited footage of a bear. There are people in this house. He also did one of the first infomercials that premiered in the big round of infomercials. Because if you don't know, it started way back in the late 2000s, early 2010s. But it was H. John Benjamin and David Cross technically started the first Adult Swim infomercial. And then it was a little stagnant, or they were a little more sparse, and then the big years of the Adult Swim infomercials that we know, like Unedited Footage of a Bear, Too Many Cooks, Mops, all of those came a few years later. But Alan Resnick did one of the first one. I believe, I can't for the life of me remember what it's called. It's like Alan Talks or something. But he did that one. He did Unedited Footage of a Bear. He did There Are People in This House. And I think that he is just a very interesting creator. And so I definitely want to do a piece about him and his work inside and outside of Adult Swim. So we're going to save the deep dives for those pieces. This piece is just about the infomercials. I watched all 32 of them. I did not realize there were 32 of them. But like I say, I'm not going to talk about things I haven't watched myself. So if you ever read a piece by me, just know I spent an entire Saturday watching all of the Adult Swim infomercials front to back. Hand to God. My favorite Canes. I was in it for the long haul. So I really like that piece. I hope you like it too, and I hope you like the upcoming pieces in this series. So on Wednesday we talked about dare-based horror. It's another, like with Valentine's horror and very niche subgenres of horror. It's small, but the entries in it are very mighty. Like Cheap Thrills, I love that movie. If you haven't seen it, it's wonderful. It's super messed up. Just know that going in. But, I love that movie. And it's one that I'm sad that I didn't see at Alamo Drafthouse when it came out. Yesterday, on Thursday, I did an ode to the Culkins. Openly admitted that I found all of the Culkins attractive, would smash in public multiple times in a piece. You win some, sometimes, I wouldn't say you lose some, but, sometimes you talk about smashing the Culkins publicly on the internet. With all the things I've said on the internet, this may be the least embarrassing. And then today, which will also be our deep dive, we're doing another Lights Camera Albums. I love doing these. Y'all seem to love them because they're one of the most read series that we do / blogs that we do. And so we're kicking this year off with From Under the Cork Tree, which is one of my favorite albums of all time. I'm a huge Fall Out Boy fan. I'm going to see them on their tour this year. I'm very excited. Because this is the second time I've seen them, and I haven't seen them in years, and I'm very excited. And that's going to be our deep dive today. And so, for those who are unfamiliar, Lights Camera Albums is a series we started a few months back. It's something I wanted to do for years. And what we do is I take an album and I go track by track and match it with a movie. Sometimes they're very apparent. Sometimes, like I've said before, you kind of have to tilt your head to the side and squint for the comparison to make sense. But either way, I love doing them and y'all seem to really enjoy them. So, just to recap, this week over on bmovies.blog, you can read horror cold opens, Adult Swim infomercials, dare-based horror, an ode to the Culkins, and the newest addition to the Lights Camera Album series from Under the Cork Tree. And again, for those who don't know, the B Movies channel is a continuation of the B Movies blog, and it's always linked in the description box below. It's just bmovies.blog. You can subscribe to get fresh new pieces sent to your inbox every Monday through Friday at 10 a.m. If you don't subscribe, they will still be available every Monday through Friday at 10 a.m. So, yeah, get excited. And there are almost 200 pieces on the B Movies blog. And we are also, our anniversary, we'll talk about this in the video next week, our year anniversary is in 3 days. Crazy. And I'll do a big thank you speech then. But crazy times. So, next piece of business is Bite Size Sunday. Bite Size Sunday reviews are Instagram exclusive reviews. They're just smaller reviews about, there's things that I want to talk about whether I liked them or I didn't, but they just weren't enough for a piece, at least in my opinion. So those just live on our Instagram, which is at bmovies channel, same as our YouTube. So this week's hint is Roller Girl and Megan Halsey are at it again. So be sure to look for that on Sunday. Again, that's only on Instagram, not over on the blog itself. And you can just follow us at bmovies channel over on Instagram. So I think we have all of our business taken care of. So let's go ahead and jump into today's deep dive, which is Lights Camera Album from Under the Cork Tree. And if you've been watching for a while, you know that I like to make these the deep dive because I like to explain a little bit of the method behind my madness. If you're new, we will always talk about, and we may talk about another blog as well, but during the deep dive, we just go more in depth about one of the blogs that was released during the week. Usually if it's a Lights Camera Albums week, I will always make that the deep dive just because, again, sometimes the way my brain works is a bit wild. And so I just like to explain myself a little bit. And it's just a fun way to go back through because, again, I love doing these Lights Camera Albums. They are a lot of work, yes, but it's so much fun. So first up, we have our lawyer made us change the name of this song so we wouldn't get sued as The Bling Ring. And I really like this because it's almost the other side of The Bling Ring, right? It's like from the celebrity perspective of like, people use us for our notoriety, and it just kind of talks about this parasitic relationship that the Bling Ring had with just the idea of celebrity in general. And the lines that really made me think of the Bling Ring are like, we're only liars, but we're the best. We're only good for the latest trends. We're only good because you can have almost famous friends. Besides, we've got such good fashion sense. And I just immediately thought of the Bling Ring. If you haven't seen the Bling Ring by Sophia Coppola, it's good. There's also a very fun Lifetime movie that has a very special place in my heart because it stars one Austin Butler. So if you have not seen that, I think the whole thing's on YouTube. I'm not sure if it's streaming anywhere, but watch the Lifetime movie too because it's so much fun. Next up we have Of All the Gin Joints in the World, a Saltburn. And this one took me a second. But then I was scrolling through Instagram, and I mean, we all know, like, Saltburn, we know it was one of my favorite movies of last year. I know it's very divisive, but either way, I mean, it's one of the most talked about movies still on Instagram, and there are so many jokes, so many products. And so I was scrolling through Instagram, and I saw a reel about Saltburn, and it hit me. I was like, oh, these two match made in heaven. Because there are lyrics in Of All the Gin Joints in the World. Also, Fall Out Boy, it honestly wasn't as hard as the others because there's so much pop culture spread throughout their song titles and everything that it was a little bit easier. But you only hold me up like this because you don't know who I really am. Sometimes I just want to know what it's like to be you. And to me, that I was like, that's Oliver. That's Oliver. Like, he is this outsider that has somehow landed on this world, and he is willing to do whatever it takes to solidify his status there. And he may or may not hold Felix up to this standard. I personally don't think he does. I mean, I think he's just a grifter from the very beginning. But either way, I think that it's a very good comparison. So next up, we have a lot of, I don't know how many, so I live in Texas, and unfortunately, and the weather, it's been cold, but it's also been rainy and moldy, and so I don't know about y'all, but my allergies are going buck wild. And like, also, please COVID test regularly. It's spiking. I test regularly, and it's just allergies. But I don't know if y'all are suffering, but mine have been bad today. So next up we have Dance Dance as Climax. I know it's a little bit of a stretch, and I didn't just do it because of the title Dance Dance, but I thought that their rhythms matched because Climax is so chaotic and so fast paced that I just thought that the pacing matched, the tonality matched, and Climax is obviously a lot darker and a lot more sinister than, just a Fall Out Boy song, but something about them I think they're in sync. Next up we have Sugar We're Going Down as Anna and the Apocalypse. This was an easy one for me. Because Anna and the Apocalypse is an annual holiday rewatch for me. I love that movie. And I had just watched it, and I put this album on while I was going to take a shower, because when I do Lights Camera Album, I just immerse myself in whatever album we're doing. And I definitely see it from Nick's perspective, because he's a jerk, but there's a lot more going on from behind the scenes. And Nick clearly likes Anna, but he's at that perfect age when you're a teenager and you can't articulate your feelings. You don't know how to handle your feelings. And you can also take it in a literal sense because Nick and Anna are fighting zombies together. I just realized my mic is in frame. We're just not going to talk about it. We're just not going to talk about this. So, just pretend like you don't see this mic. If you didn't know I used a mic, I'm so sorry to shatter the illusion. I had, when I was trying to set up, because to give you a bigger peek behind the curtain, I use a tiny side table to record. And so it is almost like a slapstick comedy routine setting up to record videos, because I have my ring light right here, which you can obviously see, and my mic, and then I prop my laptop up on two, it's it's on a Stephen King book and then a Lovecraft collection. And so to shatter the illusion, it looks a lot better here than it does down here. And so when I was trying to get everything set up, I almost knocked over my laptop, I almost knocked over the table, I knocked off my ring light multiple times. So we're just gonna ignore my sweet mic here. Just ignore it. Pretend like you didn't see it. So I digress. Nobody Puts Baby in the Corner as Something Borrowed. I really like Something Borrowed, and I think it's because I had a best friend growing up who, in retrospect, it was actually very toxic. And so Something Borrowed, it's almost like a Jennifer's Body to me, but, as a romantic comedy. And it's clear, Rachel, who's played by Jennifer Goodwin, and Darcy, who's played by Kate Hudson, they've fully outgrown their friendship. But it's one of those things where sometimes with friendships you just don't want to let them go, but it's clear that you both have outgrown it. And Rachel, who again is Jennifer Goodwin's character, is in love with Kate Hudson's fiance, Dex. And they start having an affair, and so I see Dex is her best kept secret, but her biggest mistake. And it's clear that Darcy is insecure about Rachel because Rachel doesn't realize how great she is. And so all the lines of jealousy just scream from Darcy's POV to me. And I just, I can't say how much of a relief it is to stand up for yourself. So yeah, to anyone in that situation, please don't be afraid to. I've gone on record multiple times. Just because you've been friends with someone for a long time, or just because someone's your family, please know that you don't have to. You can cut those people out. Because to get deep for a second, I've cut out most of my family. And I don't regret it. So next up we have I've Got a Dark Alley and a Bad Idea That You Should Shut Your Mouth, parentheses, summer song, as Charlie Bartlett. So I love Charlie Bartlett. I was at that perfect age. It came out when I was in high school. And I rented it from, I believe, Blockbuster. Might have been Redbox, but I'm pretty sure it was Blockbuster. And I've been a huge fan ever since. Growing up in a small town where I didn't feel like I fully fit in, Charlie Bartlett, it was it's almost like Ferris Bueller's Day Off, but for kids who were in high school in the early to mid 2000s. That's the best way I can describe it. And Charlie, who's played by Anton Yelchin, who, rest in peace, he wants to fit in more than anything. And so that's, how he lands as the school's unofficial psychiatrist. But it also obviously lands him in a world of trouble. If you haven't seen it, it's so good. And I just fully see this from Charlie's perspective. And then next up we have 7 Minutes in Heaven, aka Out of Van Halen. And so this was a weird pull. I will admit this is a weird pull. But I saw Otis when I was in college. And how I saw Otis was when Blockbuster, RIP, when they were I'm not religious at all, so please. Yeah, I'm just a dingus. Blockbuster went out of business my freshman year of college, and they were selling movies for dirt cheap. And so I remember I got Otis, I got Four Brothers, that's how I got Dance of the Dead. There were just a bunch of movies that I bought. And Otis was one of them, because I was just intrigued by it. And I also love Ashley Johnson. And if you haven't seen it, Ashley Johnson gets kidnapped by this guy, and her parents kind of get sick of waiting on the authorities to take over. It's very good. I've not watched it in a very long time, so I can't give it any CWs or TWs off the top of my head, nor can I say I condone everything in it, because this movie is, again, from the early 2010s. So, I can't, late 2000s, early 2010s. But I just thought it really kind of spoke to Otis's mentality because of the lines, "I'm not going home because I don't do too well on my own." And so I thought that they just matched well. And I was like, why not pull that out? Sophomore slump or comeback of the year is The Lost Boys. I was listening again to this in the shower, and I was like, The Lost Boys. When I really started listening to the lyrics, I was like, The Lost Boys. Because David could sing this, Star could sing this, to Michael. It just, depending on which character, it completely shifts the tone of the song. And so I just thought it just matched perfectly with this movie. I was like, these are great. Champagne for my real friends, real pain for my sham friends as Goodfellas. So first of all, Goodfellas is one of the best movies ever made. I'll say it. I love Goodfellas. It's so good. Whenever I make homemade pizza, and by homemade I mean with Pillsbury pizza dough. This is not sponsored. It's just what I use. I put on the Goodfellas soundtrack. It's a little tradition I have when I make pizza at home. And this song was one of the last pairings I made. But I had been thinking about the scene when Karen finally goes off on Henry in the bedroom for something else made me think of it. And I was like, oh my gosh, Goodfellas. I was like, it's what she would sing in that famous bedroom scene. I used to have that whole monologue that she does memorized. And I just see this song as her breaking point. When she's in that bedroom scene and she wakes him up with the pew pew in his face. Next up, we have I Slept With Someone in Fall Out Boy, and all I got was this stupid song written about me. So, to be fair, yes, it's paired with Fright Night. You cannot tell me you don't think of vampires when you listen to this album because of the music video for A Little Less 16 Candles, A Little More Touch Me. The Fall Out Boy, like, if nothing else, they make such good music videos. You've got to give them that. And so I just had vampires on the brain because I'd rewatched that music video because I was doing this piece. And I went with Fright Night and the original. I don't think the remake's bad. I think it's fine. But, like, if I'm going to watch a Fright Night, I'm going to watch the original with Chris Sarandon. And this song screams, like, from Jerry's perspective to me. He just sees himself as untouchable and invincible. And, like, the synth that they can't get rid of is that vampiric curse that he has about them. But I just see him because he's so cocky and he just feels like he's untouchable. Next up we have, finally, A Little Less 16 Candles, A Little More Touch Me as Freaky. One, I just love Freaky. I love Katherine Newton. Again, y'all know I got my Lisa Frankenstein tickets locked this week. I am so excited. And I just love Freaky. I think it's wonderful. I really like Christopher Landon. I think that the whole Scream 7 mess, I feel for him because, I mean, I don't know why Spyglass did what they did. I have a lot of thoughts about it, but I'll just keep it to myself. We won't go into soapbox quite yet. But I just love this movie. I think it's fun. And I think that the perspective could shift between Millie and the Butcher. And I thought about, like, how Booker always sets his watch early, which winds up, like, saving Millie in the end. And there's that whole line of, you know, I set my watch early because I know I'm always late. And I just thought that it was a fun one. Next up, we have Get Busy Living or Get Busy Dying. And in parentheses, do your part to save the scene and stop going to shows as Can't Buy Me Love. I was obsessed with Can't Buy Me Love for several years as a child. I believe I saw it on Fox Family when it was still Fox Family. It may have been ABC Family at that point. I saw it. I remember it was, like, late. I saw it and I was obsessed with it, and I made my mom rent it, and I eventually made my sister buy me a copy of the movie. I loved it. And, like, the grip, Cindy, who's played by Amanda Peterson, that white fringe leather jacket, I think they say it's leather in the movie. Pretty sure it's leather. That jacket had a grip on me, y'all. And I was like, I thought Patrick Dempsey was hot. I thought she was hot. And just, you know, like, I loved this movie. And, like, when I grew up and I, like, realized it was not a John Hughes movie, too, that was also shocking. Because I was like, this has John Hughes, like, the John Hughes stank all over it. So, you know, Ronald becomes popular and he becomes a total jerk. And Cindy gets upset. And she finally tells a party full of people, like, what the deal was. Which, if you've never watched it, Cindy ruins the leather jacket as her mom. She's wearing her mom's outfit. Someone pours, I believe, wine on it at a party. Wine or some sort of drink. And Ronald makes a deal with her to be popular because he's saved up all of this money from mowing lawns for a telescope. And he's like, I'll rebuy the jacket and the set if you make me popular. And so she tells everybody because he starts acting like a jerk. And I can see Cindy singing this song to him, like, right before she spills the beans. And, like, also, if someone could make a Can't Buy Me Love musical, that would, since we're doing musical adaptations, maybe, wink, wink. I think there's something there. So last up, we have EXO's Empire Records. Empire Records is a movie I can watch anytime, anywhere. I can watch it on repeat. You have Guar, you have that iconic Liv Tyler outfit where it's the mini plaid skirt and the Doc Martens and the blue sweater. You have a very foxy Anthony LaPaglia. I never say his last name right. You know who I'm talking about. It's just so good. And it also has Rex Manning, who is one of the biggest slime balls in cinematic history. And I see EXO coming from Rex Manning's POV because he, like, seeks out the girls in the store for, like, nefarious reasons. And I feel like you could rearrange the song, I say in the piece, and I stand by it. You could rearrange it to make it poppier and match the tone of Say No More, Ma No More. So, Say No More, Ma More? That sounds weird in my head, but I know that's what it's called. So yeah, so that's our deep dive for today. Be sure to check out Lights Camera Album. I will link it below, and you can always check out everything else for the week, like I said, over at bmovies.blog. So now let's move on to special features. And today, so I have two things today. I want to go ahead and say up top, I know there's a new Rapid Eyes out. We will talk about that next week. I also know Married to a Sleepwalker video 7 just came out at the time of recording this. So we will cover both of those next week. Don't worry. Have not forgotten, because it is a beefy, it's like an almost 30-minute Rapid Eyes video, I believe. We will cover the next installment of Rapid Eyes, and we will also talk about Married to a Sleepwalker video 7 next week. So you have a week to kind of catch up. I like to spread them out a little bit just so you have more time to catch up. So just a heads up now. Get caught up on Rapid Eyes and Married to a Sleepwalker, because we'll talk about video 7 next week, and we'll also talk about the new Rapid Eyes. So, Married to a Sleepwalker video 6. So our video opens with Daniel tossing and turning in bed, and we find out Shelly's been missing for like 2 days. And he confirms that multiple people, at least he thinks, broke in. This is one thing I was confused about, and Vintage 8, again, set me straight, as always. Did he receive a ransom note, or did he not receive a ransom note? Because I thought he said he received a ransom note, but I wasn't a hundo. So that is a question. If anyone also knows, please put it in the comments below, because that's the only thing I've been confused about basically this entire series. So Daniel, he thinks like multiple people broke in. He also theorizes that whoever took Shelly has been monitoring them in their house for a long time, because they covered every single camera and he has zero footage of them outside of what we saw in the last video, just like shadows and hands. Like, we have nothing. So then a detective shows up to Daniel and Shelly's house, and he has a weird interaction with Daniel's landlord where they both just kind of look at each other, and Daniel's landlord walks away. We'll touch on that later. That'll be in our theories part. The detective tells Daniel that they've reviewed all the footage he's uploaded and submitted, and then he kind of begins to berate Daniel and alludes to the fact that this is all fake. Daniel reiterates that Shelly has in fact been kidnapped, and that the detective, he's still really skeptical, and he thinks something far more sinister happened and Daniel's the culprit. I will let you draw your own conclusion there. The detective, he gives Daniel like the traditional shakedown about not leaving town and all that jazz, and then the detective leaves. We then cut to another email from Mary Q telling Daniel that Shelly will return in 6 days. Daniel asks Mary if she knows where Shelly is, and Mary just says, "You'll understand in 6 days." And that's where we leave it. Again, like, the pacing on this Vintage 8, the pacing is so good. I'm still on the edge of my seat. Whatever comes back in 6 days may or may not be Shelly. And I believe, and we will talk about this next week more, I believe that the detective and the landlord either are in on it, because as we know, Mary said to not trust anybody, or I think that the landlord might understand that there are bigger forces at play, and the look from the detective was like an acknowledgement of like, I know you don't trust me. So I think that there's something there. I think that was very intentional. But as always, kudos Vintage 8. Love the series. I'm always excited to talk about it. So next up in our special features, which for those, again, if you're new here, this is a space and a section in our video where I talk about like Married with a Sleepwalker or any of the other analog horror series or horror ARGs that we've been keeping up on. By the way, I will also have Welcome Home updates next week. Get excited, because there's some new Welcome Home stuff going on the website, and I'm very excited. I checked it on a whim the other day, and I'm very excited. But this is just a spot to talk about those updates, or to talk about things that we haven't written about on the blog yet, or we may never. And it's just kind of a fun perk of watching our videos. So next up on the special features, I want to talk about the Oscar nominations, because they're out. And I promise, if you think you know where I'm going with this, it's not what you think. So just hear me out. Let me get through everything first. So I am honestly sad and quite frankly surprised at Iron Claw being snubbed, because I did truly believe Zac Efron would be nominated for an Oscar. I did. And that's not just because like I grew up with Zac Efron or anything like that. Not like literally, but like in the figurative sense of like I grew up watching him in High School Musical, 17 Again, you name it, Charlie St. Cloud, you name it. But I truly believed he put forth an Oscar-worthy performance. And I think that we're going to start seeing him take a lot more of these serious roles. And so I'm quite shocked that he didn't get an Oscar nomination. And overall, I'm a bit shocked at how much A24 was snubbed. Because I was surprised by the lack of nominations. Like, Past Lives did get nominated for movie, but I don't think that Celeste Lee or... I don't think Greta Lee or... Oh gosh, Celeste. Is it Celeste Song? I don't think they either one got nominated. And Past Lives was one of my favorite movies of 2023. I knew Talk to Me wasn't, because the Oscars don't like horror. But like, I thought Talk to Me was wonderful. Like, it was also in my top movies, or my favorite movies of 2023. But I'm just kind of shocked overall at the lack of nominations for A24. And I don't know if that's because Everything Everywhere All at Once swept last year. I don't know if that's because A24 met the strike requirements and they were allowed to keep filming and making content. I don't know, but I'm a little bit shocked by the lack of A24, and I'm very shocked that Zac Efron at the very least was not nominated for an Oscar. So my predictions are, I think I'm Just Ken will get Best Song. I do. Lily Gladstone will win Best Actress. That's not even a prediction. That's going to happen. That's going to happen. I love her. I think she deserves it. She's the first Indigenous woman, I believe, to ever be nominated for Best Actress. And she deserves it. Period. Period. End of sentence. I believe Paul Giamatti will snag Best Actor for The Holdovers. I believe Divine Joy Randolph will snag Best Supporting Actress. I think Anatomy of a Fall will sweep a lot more than I think it's a wonderful movie. Again, it's one of my favorite movies of 2023. But I think that it's going to sweep. And then let's talk about the Barbie controversy. Okay. Here's where I stand on it. Yes, I am sad that Margot and Greta were not nominated. However, two things to keep in mind. One, America Ferrera was. Don't take away that joy for her. Okay? Okay. Two, there are a lot of women suffering in Palestine right now, and we should be focusing a little bit more on that than Barbie. That's what I have to say. Again, I think it sucks that Margot and Greta were not nominated. I do think that, again, there's some irony there, but America was. Let her have her moment. And there are women suffering in Palestine. There's women suffering because Roe v. Wade has been overturned. There are a lot of women and femme-presenting people who are suffering in a lot of ways. So you can be sad about Barbie, but like also please make sure that you're showing up for them as well. That's my take. That's my soapbox. If you don't know, I do a lot of times, again, if you're new here, I do tie movies into emotion and the things I believe in. So I have in the past. At Halloween, we wrote pieces about feminine reimagining and queer films and things in that vein. So if that's something you don't agree with, this may not be the channel for you, and that's okay. But just a heads up now, just so you can know what to expect if you're new here. But that's my take, is I think it's sad, but like, if you're going to be sad about that, we need to match an outcry for women and femme-presenting people and non-binary people and even men. I know I made a face and I'm sorry. It was like, that wasn't even me doing a bit. That was just like my initial reaction. But there are people suffering. Just make sure that your outcry for Barbie matches / is less than outcries for justice in other areas. So, I think that is going to wrap up special features. So now let's get to subtitles, which are just little bits of news, pop culture news that have been spread out that I'm excited about and that I think are fun. And so to kick us off, an Until Dawn movie has been announced with David F. Sandberg directing. I'm really curious if it's going to be time loopy, like the game. For those who don't know, Until Dawn, it's made by the same people who made The Quarry, where it's a decision-based game and the choices that you make impact the gameplay. It's almost like a choose-your-own-adventure. And so I'm curious if it's just going to be like a straightforward story based off the lore of Until Dawn, or if it's going to have something to do with time loops. Very intrigued either way. The Boys Season 4 has a release date, baby, June 13th. The rumor is that the season finale of The Boys is going to pass the baton back over to Gen V, and vice versa. That's just gonna be how it rolls, like how Gen V set up Season 4. So I'm very excited to see that. And the teaser trailer for the next installment of The Walton Files has dropped, and I can't wait. I think it's going to be awesome. Now is the time, if you've not watched The Walton Files before, go catch up. And I'm very excited. So yeah, I think that is going to do us for today's video. Let's go ahead and wrap it up. Feel free to follow me on Instagram. I am at Lisa_Frankenstein_, and I feel like the need to say this now. That was my handle way before the movie, even though I'm very excited. That was my Instagram handle for years. Be sure to follow Elliot at reading.with. Excuse me, that is so rude, and I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry, Elliot. Follow Elliot on Instagram over at reading.with.red. Subscribe to the bmovies blog, just bmovies.blog. Follow us over on Instagram, which is just at bmovies channel, same as our YouTube. We post every Monday through Friday. We post the links to the blogs there. You can also find the link to the blog in our bio. We post the YouTube video over there as well. So definitely, that's where Back to Sundays live too. So feel free to give us a follow over there. And be sure to subscribe. If you're not already subscribed to this channel, it is free. Give us a like if you feel so inclined. Leave us a comment down below. And yeah, thank you so much for your support. We'll do the big 1 year of the B Movies blog spiel next week, because I cannot believe we are 3 days away from the year anniversary. And I just want to thank you for all of your support. So I guess on that note, all that's left to do is fade to black.